Welcome to Nubiart Diary number 427 for the 26th of March 2020. Nubiart, a different perspective on the African world. Okay, for the March promos, the first one is ALEWA by the band Santrofi. It's on Outhere Records and it's released on the 24th of April. ALEWA is a stunning 10-track debut album by Accra-based Santrofi, an all-star band led by the bass player Emmanuel Ofori. The group are steeped in polyrhythm and the highlife tradition, with members having played with Ebo Taylor, Pat Thomas and the Kwashibu Area Band. But they're giving this music a modern twist. The band is named after a colourful Ghanaian bird with 4 wings. The album opens with the percussion-heavy call-and-response invocation of Kokroko. This is reflective of the morning cockcrow among the Twi-speaking Akan people. It tells the story of a young wordsmith who promotes the Akwapam dinner tradition of wordplay, poetry, invocations and appellations common to cultures with griots who were the spokesmen of their chief. This is followed by the highlife of the title track, named after a black and white suite, and is about musical liberation and diversity. Kwakwa comes through in an Afrobeat style, and this is a children's game and a lullaby. The track called Africa opens with a stirring speech by Kwame Nkrumah calling for the unification of the continent and delivers with rippling guitar riffs. Odomaba comes from the Fante saying, "I'm back, my love." Musically, it verges into the infectious calypso highlife hybrid that is much loved not only in Ghana but across the diaspora. Kokoase, Under the Cocoa Tree, is another highlife with an intro chanted by the band. It is a desperate cry for the return of a long-lost lover, while stirring memories of sitting under the cocoa tree singing, dancing, sharing stories, and making merry. This is followed by the upbeat groove of Adoma, which describes a hard-working environment common to most of Africa. The track kicks off with sounds of the marketplace as traders call out to customers and trotros seek passengers. The group follows this with Kwabena Amoa in the Fante Oshode Oshone style of highlife, with sinuous guitar and stabbing horns. It tells the story of a rich man with his extensive travels. Konongo Kaya is another superbly delivered highlife cautionary tale about avoiding scheming, devious and greedy people. The album closes with the soulful Mobo, a plea for mercy, favour, protection and guidance. The term Mobo means mercy in many of the Akan languages, and this song is a thank you prayer of appreciation and a plea for further mercies and triumphs. Second album we're looking at is The Pace Setter by Edikanfo, which is coming out on Glitterbeat Records on the 8th of May. This is the first ever reissue of the classic 1981 debut album from this much revered Ghanaian band. Edikanfo means leaders or pace setters, so that was what they decided to name their first offering. The 6 tracks are a vibrant mix of highlife and Afrofunk that were produced by the sound explorer Brian Eno in Accra. On the album's initial release in 1981, Edikanfo quickly rose to international attention because of its infectious, forward-looking highlife meets Afrofunk synthesis. Eno's vision of a psychedelic Africa was the forerunner of the cross-pollination and global musical interconnectivity, much in evidence across the music industry today. The album was recorded at Studio One in Accra, with the famous Faisal Helwani in attendance. However, the group were unable to build on the album's release as Ghana suffered a coup d'etat on the last day of 1981. For years after, the country endured nighttime curfews which decimated the live music scene in Accra and created financial problems for musicians. The band members spread out into exile all over the world. Now, almost 4 decades later, Edikanfo's surviving band members are at last gearing up to promote this reissue with a tour. The brassy highlife funk of Nkabon, Togetherness, opens the album. The track is available to stream or download on all major digital platforms. This is followed by Something Lefio, a call and response highlife. Gebenta continues the groove. The track Blinking Eyes is driven by a solid slab of slap bass. Moonlight Africa is delivered with sparse lyrics. The album closes with Dada Edikanfo, a blend of lead guitar riffs, percussion, stabbing horns, and funky keyboards. The third album we're looking at is The Funeral Songs by Frafra, and that's also available on Glitterbeat, and that'll be out on the 24th of April. These 7 tracks of raw and celebratory funeral music from northern Ghana were recorded live and outdoors by Grammy Award winner Ian Brennan. The trio here deliver a celebration of a life lived on a range of acoustic instruments, including the kalongo, mouth flutes, and pulsing percussion, accompanying rapturous voices. The music comes from Bongo in the Upper East region of northern Ghana and are sung in the local Frafra language. The album opens with the solo voice track Destiny, Orphans. This is followed by the call and response of You Can't Escape Death. The tributes continue with Naked, You Enter and Leave This World with Nothing. The message of helpless, death has taken everyone, is that we all pass away in our time. Goodbye is underpinned by flute rattles with occasional chants, while the group chants continue on I Will Follow You for Life Everywhere. We Must Grieve Together is a short track which closes the album, and this fascinating insight into the funeral customs of northern Ghana. And there's album video clips up on YouTube. The book for the March media is Art of Healing, Australian Indigenous Bush Medicine, which is edited by Jacqueline Healy and is published by the Medical History Museum and the University of Melbourne. Professor Marsha Langton writes, by placing the dignity of the persons at the centre of our work, we start to create healing spaces and healing cultures. This is the great contribution that traditional healers bring to the institutions of healthcare introduced into rural and remote Australia some as recently as 50 years ago. These extraordinary healers are called by many names. Clevermen, Marangiti, and Ingankari are just 3. This book is the brochure for a touring exhibition to mark the 50th anniversary of the Medical History Museum and also their decision to finally recognise the value of Indigenous healing knowledge. The exhibition showed in May to June 2019 at Bush House Arcade, King's College London, and at the Berlin Museum of Medical History at Charity from October 2019 to February 2020, and it was curated by Dr. Jackie Healy, the Senior Curator at the Medical History Museum, and Henry Foreman Atkinson Dental Museum at the University of Melbourne. The Parkville campus of the University of Melbourne is based on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. Melbourne Medical School Faculty of Medicine, Dentistry and Health Science commissioned Wurundjeri artist Mandy Nicholson to create a possum skin cloth to be presented to the University of Melbourne in 2012. This led to a strengthened relationship with Aboriginal communities, exploring their art and culture. The Art of Healing, Australian Indigenous Bush Medicine, presents a range of examples of healing practice through contemporary art from the many distinct and various Indigenous communities throughout Australia and the Torres Strait Islands, mostly inspired by Chukorpu, dreaming. There is a strong focus on passing down cultural knowledge to the next generation, such as the Kuru nations of Victoria, who had 6 to 8 seasons in a year. The works use a range of techniques in media, including painting in ochre and acrylic, printmaking, weaving, and ceramics. Plant material can be transformed by applying fire, water, smoke, roasted, crushed, heated, consumed, or applied to the body. Eucalyptus leaves are boiled to create an oil to treat bruises and cuts, or infused and inhaled to help alleviate symptoms of asthma, body aches, chills, and fever, while the treated bark soothes flamed limbs. Such remedies are still in use in Aboriginal communities, where people over many generations have learnt which plants have health properties and which are toxic. In Alice Springs, the Inganyachara, Pitjantjatjara, Yangunjatjara Women's Council with their Ngankari women healers have undertaken a mental health program that examines issues contributing to well-being. They develop magnetic cards that describe people's emotional and mental states. Contributors to the exhibition came from the Warmoon Arts Centre, Warangari Aboriginal Arts, Warlayirti Artists, Warlukulangu Artists of Yundumo, Many Hands, Jumpy Desert Weavers, Hermansburg Potters, Merapen, Injalak, Bukulangai Mulka at the top end, Jilamara and Monopi on the Tiwi Islands. Through their depictions of a rich indigenous medicinal flora, the artists celebrate over 65,000 years of traditional healing within distinct cultural boundaries defined by intimate relationships with country. Today, the indigenous people still have access to 350,000 square kilometres of traditional lands on the continent of Australia. Hundreds of languages are spoken, and the artworks tell stories of bush medicine from many parts of Australia as an introduction to a vast bank of knowledge that precedes and parallels other great healing traditions. Many of the works in the exhibition illustrate particular bush medicines, and in their accompanying words, the artists share with us their knowledge of their uses. Elder and Ingankari Ilawante Unkuchuru Ken from Inkareki Outstation at Rockbore in the Northern Territory has created a basket based on observing birds' nests to show the power of family and community for a person's well-being. She says, "My basket is like a nest." On her bush medicine pot, Hermansburg ceramic artist Judith Punkarta Nkamala illustrates the process of preparing bush medicine. The pot is crowned with a depiction sculpted in clay of a Kninkara, a medicine woman, using a grinding stone to prepare bush medicine. She said, "Bush medicine has always been with Aboriginal people. It was before and we will always be making bush medicine. There are all kinds of bush medicine and they grow all over. You'll find they're different in each place, and we have these ones that I've painted. The old lady and the old brother will sing, 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 and spit into the bush medicine as they mix it. That's why everyone will get better and everyone will become strong." The ancestral knowledge of healing of the Yorta Yorta people is celebrated in a major work by Triana Ham, based at Yarrawonga in Western Australia. Dungala Coolburn shows women and girls collecting bush medicine along the banks of Dungala, which is the Murray River, and placing the medicines in coolamons and in dilly bags. Marilyn Nichols' method of coil weaving has been used in southeastern Australia for thousands of years to make baskets, belts, mats, eel traps, and other items. Nichols' healing basket is woven from sedge fibre and includes two medicinal plants, coastal rosemary and gum leaves, both of which are used for smoking ceremonies to cleanse and heal. Senior Gija elder and artist Shirley Purdy has been working for several years with linguist Francis Cofford to document medicinal and other plants of the East Kimberley, identifying individual species and recording their Gija, Latin and English names. Preserving vital information and cultural memory for future generations through written records and individual artworks. Birial, conkerberry or Carissa lanceolata, is used for smoking people to get away bad spirits. It's used for all ages when they are sick, if they are dreaming about anything or not eating. Kangaroo apple contains solanine, which is a food source and medicinal plant used for anabolic steroids and oral contraceptives. It promotes appetite, strength, and weight gain while increasing red blood cells. Hollyhock flowers are used to relieve inflammation, as a diuretic for soothing, chest problems, improve blood circulation, alleviating constipation, dysmenorrhea, and hemorrhage. The shoots were used to ease difficult labour. The roots and flowers treat inflammation of the kidneys and wombs and for vaginal and seminal discharge, while the roots stimulate appetite. The Torres Strait Islanders practice putting legs in waves to help their children walk earlier. Meanwhile, eating seaweed seed helps them talk earlier. Banana leaves were wrapped on sores and people made to sit in the sun all day. Professor Kerry Arabena, the executive director of First 1000 Days Australia, wrote, "Healing comes from engaging our collective ecological knowledge paradigms that have been defiled and recast by a mindset invested in dominating nature. Healing for Torres Strait Islanders comes through experiencing nature as natural beings to understand ourselves as continuations, further elaborations, expansions, and fulfillments of our stories and our place. We are creative people, co-creating the world and the universe. Our ancestors understood implicitly the intercommunion of all living and non-living systems in our particular location, an ecological intelligence of the Torres Straits that was and is unsurpassed. It is this knowledge that needs to be activated and integrated with the five spheres of Torres Strait Islanders' lives: the land sphere, the water sphere, the air sphere, the life sphere, and the mind sphere. The wonder, of course, is the bonding of these spheres into a single community of existence. This is our healing. Muttonbird oil is used to treat chest infections and for lung health. The oil can also be used for frying and in lanterns. It is rubbed into horses' muscles and added to sunburn lotions and medicines. The feathers are used for dounas and sleeping bags. The oil is also promoted as a food for dogs to stimulate growth and for teeth, flesh, reproductive organs, and muscle. Called Jola, it contains omega-3, iodine, zinc, phosphate, magnesium, iron, and calcium. It doesn't require extraction processes and can be used for heart disease, stroke, and arthritis. Gagarang, which is spinifex, can be boiled as a tea and used as a contraceptive. Old man's weed taken twice a day, 3 times a week, is a tonic for lupus. Eucalyptus gum can be used for fevers, laryngitis, asthma, chronic bronchitis, whooping cough, gonorrhea, ulcers, gangrenous tissue, edema, and gastrointestinal disturbances. The oil is antiseptic, expectorant, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, deodorant, diuretic, and antispasmodic. It can be infused, while the leaves can also be rolled and smoked as cigars and cigarettes to relieve asthma and bronchial conditions. Matilda Malujua Nona is based at the Badu Arts Centre in Badu Island on the Torres Straits. The collection of bush medicines was a collaborative work undertaken by women from Wiramanu Balgo. Wiramangulu, the bloodwood tree sap, is boiled and drunk for several ailments, including cancer tumours. The sap is used to treat cuts and sores. Dried and powdered, it is an antiseptic wash. Healers are often helped by a kingu, a dog spirit of the Chukurpa, or dreaming. The spirit of a person, the Kurun, rests in the stomach journey, but it moves around and weakens when a person is ill. Kurun can jump and move if a person gets frightened, resting in the wrong place in the body or leaving it completely. The Kurun can become sad, tired, frightened, or weak, reflecting the suffering of any part of a person's body. Professor Helen Milroy, the Winthrop Professor and Director of the Centre for Aboriginal Medical and Dental Health at the University of Western Australia, gave a lecture as part of the exhibition programme on the importance of understanding health and healing through an Aboriginal cultural lens, where imagery and storytelling play an important part in healing practices. Professor Milroy is a descendant of the Palaiko people of the Pilbara region of Western Australia and was the first Aboriginal doctor to graduate in 1983. She was a commissioner with the Royal Commission into Institutional Responses to Child Sexual Abuse from 2013 to 2017. Currently, she is a consultant child and adolescent psychiatrist, professor at the University of Western Australia, commissioner with the National Mental Health Commission, and co-chair of the Million Minds Medical Research Advisory Group. Australia's remote Aboriginal communities have started severely restricting visitors to try to keep out the COVID-19 virus. The government then used the Biosecurity Act to limit access to only medical and health staff, police and educational services. Currently, there are around 120,000 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, often referred to as First Nation people or Indigenous Australians, living in such communities, mainly in Western Australia, the Northern Territory, and far north Queensland, where they are often several hours' drive from towns down unpaved roads. So far, confirmed COVID-19 cases in Australia have been concentrated in the metropolitan areas, often imported by people travelling from overseas. People with underlying medical conditions are known to be at greater risk from COVID-19, and diabetes and renal failure are more prevalent among Indigenous Australians than the general population. They also have much higher smoking rates. The life expectancy gap between Indigenous males and non-Indigenous males is between 8.6 and 11 years, while for females it is 7.8 years. This is according to the latest Closing the Gap report. Joe Martin-Jard, the chief executive of the Central Land Council, warned an entire generation of elders could be wiped out if we allowed the virus to enter their communities. The death toll, even among younger family members, would be far higher than for the rest of the nation. Many Aborigines have nowhere to isolate themselves, being homeless and relying on friends and family for accommodation, with 10 or more people living in a house being common. Megan Krakauer, a lawyer and Indigenous health and suicide prevention outreach worker, said, "The contagion effect will spread throughout the whole of the community within less than 48 hours as everyone is in walking distance proximity." At traditional First Nations funerals, known as sorry business, there can be over 500 people, with many travelling from larger towns or other remote communities. A new service to offer phone and online consultations will be available to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders aged over 50, as well as non-Indigenous Australians over 70. But campaigners have pointed to poor communications as well as language issues that need to be overcome. So that is a little bit of an insight into the health issues for Aboriginal Indigenous Australians. Okay, let's move on to the lyrics and spirits. O ye gods of the underworld, who set yourself up against me, and who resist the mighty ones, the stars which never set have led me on my way. That's from chapter 78 of the Papyrus of Ani. The poem for this issue is Muffin, dedicating this one to the warehouse crew. Muffin is a youth who never run in nor riot. He may walk humble in peace, some say him far too quiet. But he knows not to talk if he has nothing good to say. False talk and rumour leading so many people astray. Him have the lyrics to explain how he feel, so him have to express himself to stop him go out and steal. Muffin broke out down by the chocolate factory wall. Duck and run for cover, ignore security guard's call. Taken by surprise, no response would do. He met his sister, she's coming well tooled. The muggle shack out down by the old school. Turn up the bass, the mids, and the treble. Some people come down here in session or swing. Roadblock in the area, bring down Babylon attention. Them come round to ask some serious question, like, are you enjoying yourself, and is that sensi you're smoking? Before an answer, then release their hell, and the full posse is heading straight for the cell. Muffin was a youth who never run in nor riot. Him a walk humble in peace, some say him far too quiet. But he knew not to talk if he had nothing good to say. False talk and rumour leading so many people astray. He had the lyrics to explain how he felt. Babylon beat him, and now I'm gone a dovecote. And that is a poem from March 1989, which was published in my book of Slaughter and Consumption. And that brings us to the end of this edition of the Nubiart Diary. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to get in touch with us, you can contact us at Kubara Zamani, African Quest, PO Box 35165, London SE5 8WU. The email africanquest1@hotmail.com, and on Twitter at Nubiart Diary. And we'll just close by saying, talk sense, or it don't make sense you talk. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.